All right, everyone, welcome to another episode of Stu and the Nunn. And tonight it's Stu and the Rob, the unpaid producer. Hey, Rob, how you doing, buddy?
How's it going, sir?
Good,
How are
good.
you?
You sounding 5x5, as our Sigo would say, or Lima
Awesome.
Charlie.
Awesome.
The-
How's
It's
the uh,
it's
how's
a
the
big.
weather up there in the northern studio?
Well, the Northern Studio. It has been. We went from cool to hot. It's a hot relative term, right? So, but for us, hot, high 70s, 80s. And now we're about to drop back down. I saw next week the high is going to be 62 one day. So right
Ooh,
where I like it, 60s and 70s I can deal with. But it's been humid. We've had a lot of rain, so it's been real humid. Again, relative to us, a lot of humid. To Georgia or Houston, not a lot of humid.
right.
Um, but how about you in the southern, more southern than me studio?
We had a high of 78 the other day, which was nice. I work from home, so I had my windows open and just enjoyed the nice cool breeze. Of course, it was raining, so it was very humid. We have had some tornadoes around this area, so that's always something to be concerned about. But it's going
Yeah,
to get a little bit warmer.
you've had a few trees down.
Yeah, a little bit,
Um,
a little bit.
yeah. Yeah, that's been coming through pretty good, but good, good. Well, it's a big day today. It is. It's a this day is always a big day in our country's history. On June 6th, the anniversary of the D-Day invasion, and of course this year it's kind of monumental in the fact that it's the 80th um, anniversary of that. It's been 80 years since that day happened, and a lot of friends of ours have been over there. I can't believe I've been talking to friends over there today, several that are just, as the days have went on the last few days, they're popping up on the Facebook and stuff. And I'm like, that dude's there too. I'm like, everyone I know is there. I mean, Gina Lee, she has a couple of her girls there. I
Right.
mean, Jack Mandeville and guys from Black Rifle Company, Evan and the guys from there. Tim Kennedy is there jumping. A good buddy of mine who's a common listener is I was in Afghanistan with is there jumping tomorrow, and I'm just like, man, everyone got over there, and I don't know, it's always been a dream of mine to go, and I wish I would went this year because this will be the last year that they are able to bring vets over. The youngest guy they have over there right now is 96. That's still alive.
Yeah. Yeah. It's we're getting to the point where that entire generation is going to be lost, and
Yeah,
it's going to be a sad day when that happens because um, I don't think the youth of today have the the appreciation really isn't the word, but the respect for that generation. That you and I grew up in that era. Respecting that generation. But your dad was a Vietnam era, and my dad was Korean, but a Korea War. But that generation, the World War II generation, we owe so much to for everything we have today.
yeah,
Would not be here had it not been for them. And
absolutely.
many of those men went on to then go fight in Korea as well. And there are a couple that were
And
even still
Vietnam.
around in Vietnam.
Yeah.
So
I mean, they built this country. They came back, and they built this country. I mean, they had parades, they had all that stuff,
mhm,
but they came back. And they didn't have obviously the resources that we now have, and for getting back into society and doing that. And they dealt with a lot. Back then they called it, the 1,000-yard stare and all this kind of stuff. I mean, it was PTSD. It was PTS in some flavor. It was being able to work through the issues, and some found a very strong way to bury some of that and just continue on life. Others, those demons came back later, and everything that we see now. But yeah, it was it's when so we're about to come on. Our good friend Taco, he goes by Taco. We kind of call him Taco Bell. His name is Mitchell Bell. He is the Taco plays off his last name. We've had him on the show before. He has his own show, Tall Tales from Taco. He and I have even talked about doing a dual show where I'm his guest and he's my guest at the same time, hitting two different audiences. But he is over there. And he's an American Airlines pilot, and they are a big sponsor of that. So, um, I was talking to him earlier today with some others, and trying to get someone to come on tonight. Obviously, it's way too late. It's 8 o'clock now Eastern, so I think it's around 2 in the morning or so that time. He's leaving tomorrow morning. They're coming back, bringing about 50 or 60 something vets. They took over there, World War II vets. American Airlines sponsored it, and he went over there as a representative of the company, along with a lot of other people. So I was able to grab some time with him earlier, Rob, and record a short interview with him. And I want to play that tonight. So our listeners and viewers get a chance to hear from him firsthand. He's been there for the last, I don't know, 5 or 6 days with our good buddy Dave Bellavia and many others, taking these World War II vets all over the area and meeting everyone. I've been sharing a lot of his posts and photos, and we're going to share more. We're going to share them on our page, and he's assured me he's got a ton more that he hasn't even gotten to yet. But I want to play that interview, let people watch and listen to that, and then we're going to come back on after and talk about that. We're going to do something a little bit unique. We are going to open up the lines for those watching and listening. So once we come back from this interview that I did literally an hour or 2 hours ago, it wasn't long. Taco was up pretty late to talk with me. We're going to open up the lines and invite our listeners and viewers to connect into the show, bring you on. You can decide whether you want video or not. And just hoping you come on and tell us your memories, tell us your maybe family story from World War II or anything. Talk about current events. But this is the first here on Stu and the Nun. We're going to do kind of a listener call-in show. But, again, if you have something about World War II in general, not just D-Day, a family history, a family story you would like to pass on and let the world hear about, that's what we're going to try to do tonight after we come back on the backside of this. That sound good, Rob?
Sounds fantastic.
All right. Well, here we go. We're going to go with this, and we'll see you. We'll be back on live in 30 minutes. We're going to be watching right along with the rest of you. It's a great interview. Here you go. All right, everyone. Welcome. We have a special guest here in tonight's episode. I want to introduce past guests, actually, probably many times more, well before this show, and on this show also. My good buddy, Mitch Taco Bell. We call him Taco. He is the host of Tall Tales with Taco, his great podcast, video cast, very much like this. And Taco, I want to welcome you on the show again, my friend, from a long way away.
Hey, welcome from we're in Normandy, France right now for the 80th anniversary of D-Day, and I apologize. The Wi-Fi and cell coverage here is really sparse, so I think the best I could do is get a little audio out to you.
That'll work.
But if you're able to grab some of the photos that I've shared on Facebook and whatnot, feel free. Um, American Airlines, who I work for, organized an event. Started about a year and a half, almost 2 years ago, and it's culminated into a charter trip with 68 veterans from World War II. A lot of them Battle of the Bulge, D-Day, after D-Day, post D-Day. A lot of different folks. Navy. We even have a few Marines in here that, of course, weren't there. I mean, we have a lot of vets from campaigns all during World War II, so it's not just inclusive to D-Day vets. But brought them over here with a caretaker and a medical team. Chartered a 787, got into Charles de Gaulle, and then we took them around Paris, and we had many events over at the National Cemetery, which right outside of Paris, overlooking the Eiffel Tower. There's this beautiful cemetery if you've ever been there, and it has veterans from World War One and also World War II there. And then, of course, the main cemetery, which we were just at today, with all of our vets overlooking the cliffs of the invasion beach. And it's
How
really
is that?
moving. So,
How is that? I mean, just to be there at all, it's on my bucket list, dude. It has been for years. But how is it being with those vets, which will probably be the last time we bring veterans over there? I mean, they're I hear the youngest one's
yeah,
96. I mean,
yeah, you're absolutely right. So all the vets that we have on our trip are between 98 years old and 100. The oldest is a merchant marine guy, and he's 107. So, um, at that age, they're just it's tough. There's not going to be a 85th reunion. I guarantee it.
Yeah.
Um, and even if you did, it would be the difficulties of moving folks around in wheelchairs is super tough. But let me tell you this: we had Black Rifle Coffee, Jack Mandeville
Yep.
from Black Rifle Coffee. Jack picked up me, Tracy, Kelly, and two vets, Don Graves, who's a local legend, Iwo Jima vet, flamethrower guy, and Al Chapin, who's he was Navy in Guam, running boats ashore. So you've got these two guys who are Fort Worth, Texas legends, and they're just great guys. And so they're trying to get Al back for the 80th Guam, and they gave him $25,000, and he's going to try to go back in September and then go to Pello. Well, they took they took us to a big party at the mayor of San Mariglis, her house, and we did a giant party. And the 82nd and 101st have a big annual tradition there at the mayor's house, and then we go downtown and we go to this stop bar. It's called the Stop Bar. Walk in, and this is kind of the reception we got. We got in there, wheel these guys into the wheelchairs, go up to the bar to go buy the beers, and the guys looks at me and no, it was like, nope, you guys aren't paying. Actually, it was the guy that went up to go get the beers the first time. He came back and he goes, no, Taco, they didn't even charge me. All 8 beers on the house. So I go up to go buy the beers. Nope, beers on the house. It was just phenomenal. It was really, I wrote about it as what it was like to be a strap hanger on the Beatles,
Yeah,
for the
that
Beatles.
was a good post on Facebook. I've been sharing, by the way, all of your posts, all your pictures on my personal wall, and
Oh,
share,
cool.
getting lots of feedback. Yeah, I've been pushing it for other people to share it too, which I've seen.
Oh,
Yeah,
good, good.
yeah,
Yeah, it's kind of cool because in that instance, we're pushing these guys around, and everybody stops you and they want an autograph and they want a picture and a selfie, and these dudes are just so happy to do it. Um, Fantastic. It's the people here.
it's
I
got to
want to
make them
come
feel
back.
like rock stars. I mean, they're just going, "Hey, I was
All
just
of
a
them.
vet. I'm just a guy. I did my thing," and they're just literally lifting them on their shoulders.
Oh, they are. They are. They're treating them like royalty, and you can't put a price tag on that. It's incredible. The loyalty. I tell you what. As an American, I've seen more American flags flown in people's yards in France than I have in my own, state of Texas.
Probably
I
since
swear. There's
2001. Probably since 2001, you probably have seen more. I would
no.
guess.
I mean, these guys, they have American flags flying everywhere around here, and their love for America, and what they do is, they teach their kids. All of their kids come in and greet the vets and talk to them. Their kids know the history, and what happened when the Nazis took over, which really made me reflect on the fact that our kids are being brainwashed, and
Yeah.
here they are embracing socialism and communism, all the things that we fought, with the Nazis, and yet our kids that you see on TV are basically embracing all of that sort of stuff on the college campuses, and you're going, what? Where do we fail?
Yeah,
That
they're
80
embracing
years ago,
Che Guevara and Hamas, and those kids
yeah,
uh, walk those cemeteries with reverence and
oh
honor.
yeah,
Yeah, exactly.
yeah. Where do we go wrong? That 18-year-old stormed the beach. That was the thing that got me because I'd never been here before. This place, when you watch the movies, I always kind of imagined D-Day sort of, you went up the beach and then it was sort of flat. This place is actually really hilly. I don't know
Yeah.
if you've been here, but
No,
it's
I haven't.
really sort of rolling hills and stuff. And so to get up from the
Well,
ocean,
our good friend Bell's Dave Bellavia, Medal of Honor recipient, is here with you, and I know he was sending me some pictures of just some of the hedgerows and just how thick and heavy and dark. And he's like, the famous hedgerows that we had to cut through and cross
yeah,
through and fight. And he was he sent a few things back to himself besides some of the great stuff you posted.
yeah. I mean, I'm telling you, the hedgerows, you wouldn't even know there was a company on the other side.
Yeah.
There could be a company of Germans on the other side. You'd never know it. The house to house fighting, I couldn't even imagine. But the
I gotta say, I'm surprised. So many people I know. I got a buddy of mine jumping tomorrow. A guy I was in Afghanistan with from the Oregon National Guard who went on active duty after that and retired. As a field grade officer. He's with one of the reenacting groups. He's jumping tomorrow. Our friend Tim Kennedy is jumping or has already. Um,
yes, yes,
there's Jack's over there, Black Rifle Coffee Company. You're over there. Bellavia's over there. I was like, this whole week, I've just friends one after another popping up. I'm like, man, everybody got the memo. Everyone went to Normandy. I'm like,
yeah.
man,
I saw Tim. I saw Evan and Matt Best. I saw all those guys. They came to greet us and talk to us and stuff, and just superb dudes, all of them. But they're all jumping out. Shit, I've got my old running buddy from Iraq, who's a congressman now, Ronnie Jackson,
yeah, Ronnie
and
Jackson,
also
who we've had on this show. Yeah, I saw that he's jumping.
yeah, he's jumping with Keith Self. Keith was a Army. I think he was Special Forces. I know he's West Point guy.
There's like 10
And
congressmen, 10 congressmen and senators, 10 elected reps that are all jumping, I think.
yeah, they're all doing that jump. And dude, they're doing it with round shoots. They're
Yeah.
not even doing it with sports shoots.
Right. Yeah, they're doing it. Oh, I mean, they got the original clothing. They're jumping out of a C-47. I mean,
Yeah.
that's just what an experience. Yeah, it's
Oh,
got to
dude,
be. I imagine it's got to be you as fast as this went. You've been there a few days. I think you're leaving soon. It must
tomorrow.
be everything you could do, just soak up every second and not take it for granted. I'm sure it was hard to even go to sleep at night, just trying to take in everything.
Well, this whole trip, my voice is starting to go. This whole trip is a whirlwind of emotions, and we're constantly logistics and make everything move, logistics and whatnot. Um, it'll take about another 2 weeks to actually absorb all of the details from the trip, because I'm on the working perspective. We're
Right.
getting the guys on the buses. We're doing this. We're doing that. Moving everybody, and the logistical perspective of the trip is what I'm working. So my job is not to sit back and relax and enjoy it. Although, like today, the VIPs and the vets and everybody, they were all up front, and that gave me a chance to go find my old roommate's cousin who died there back when he was a young man, 17 years old, and put the sand. The guys, if you know somebody, your family member that's buried there, they'll take and you'll rub the sand on their stone, on their cross, and then they take a little sponge and they kind of clean it up and wipe it off. But it really makes it stand out. Just a really neat deal. They take that grass. You would die to have the lawn that is covering all of these heroes. It's incredible.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
and
it has got to be. I mean, I'm glad you got a little bit of chance to do that today. So you're there pretty much representing American Airlines. Did you fly over? Did you fly the plane over? Or are you going back? Or are you just riding and
no,
watching?
yeah, I'm just riding and watching. We chartered a 7-8. I'm on the 7-3 now. I used to fly it, but we chartered a 787, and we're out here doing this stuff. Delta, they did something in conjunction with a guy named Donnie, somebody from I think it's Best Defense, but Um, dude, they're at the cemetery. Not to bag on those guys, but they left two of their vets behind.
They're World War
They
II
had to come
vets.
back. Yeah, two of the World War II vets. They didn't do a hit count, and they left two of their vets behind. So I don't know what that
Hey,
says, but go
there
with
must not
America
have been
because we did a hit count and got all
a,
our guys.
there must not have been an NCO there to count off from the back of the bus going forward. I mean,
No, no. They, hey, is your, I get on the bus and I'm like, I've got all the. We brought like 50 cadets from the different academies. We've got Merchant Marine, we got Naval Academy, West Point, Air Force Academy, and Coast Guard Academy. And they're the Glee Club, choir club, and these kids sound awesome. And they've been helping us out the whole week. We need muscle. Hey guys, could you help us out with this? Oh yes sir, no problem. And no issues. It's the best time I've ever had. And you're dealing with all these young future officers. And
yeah.
so, you kind of, they'll ask you, hey, what's your words of wisdom, Taco? And, start giving them some, well, my advice to you is read How to Win Friends and Influence People and Who's Got the Monkey by, Harvard Business Journal in 74. What? Explain to them why and stuff. But it's been a great time. Kids
Well,
are
yeah,
awesome.
you're getting a chance to mentor the next generation of leaders, and then you're also getting a chance to spend time and look at the past leaders of which we've all been shaped from, right? Their actions, their
Yep.
tactical actions, the decisions those commanders and leaders, NCOs and all, even privates, made on the ground shaped a lot of the doctrine that we still use today, and they
Yeah.
invented it as
And
they went along.
oh, dude, and they were 20 years old. They were
Yeah.
20, maybe max 25 years old.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just amazing to me. And I'm sitting there looking at a year away from 59. I did have a funny story. Bells goes, "Hey Taco, I don't think we're going to get invited back for the 80th anniversary of Fallujah." And I'm like,
That's
"Yeah,
probably a
I
good
turned
prediction right there. Yeah.
I turned 40 when I was in Iraq in '05 after Fallujah, but I turned 40. I'm thinking, yeah, I won't be around for the 80th. Shit, worms will be eating my corpse.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that place would have to go through a major 180 to be a place where you'd want to go back to. I mean, even though
Yeah,
right now a big deal, right? A lot of Vietnam vets are going back, including one of my old star majors have been going back to Vietnam, spending 2 weeks to 45 days walking their old battlegrounds. And it's been, the
yeah,
ones I've talked to, it's been very healing. Now, will Afghanistan or Iraq ever get there one day? I don't know, but I know in Vietnam you would think it would never happen there, and a lot of them are doing it there. They're going back and they're seeing the people, they're meeting the people they fought against, and walking the same ground. So
yeah. I doubt seriously that we could go back to Iraq or Afghanistan for a long, long while, and
I mean,
especially,
Bells went back in Iraq, but he kind of snuck back in, and
yeah,
he was on a mission to do that. But yeah, I think your same thing. I think we'll be long gone before it ever turns around to be that kind of country which we could peacefully walk back. Maybe our kids or grandkids will do that and say, "Oh, this is where my grandpa fought." I don't know.
yeah. But they would never know. I mean,
Mm-mm.
they would never know the battle space or the area, or
No,
oh hey, look at that building. That building used to be, we converted that into a coffee hut.
right.
um,
That's where the green beans
but
was, right there.
yes, yeah,
That's
yeah, yeah. That was the green beans right there, and the army dudes turned that into a pool.
yeah.
And and this was the bada bing where we smoked cigars.
So
Yeah,
let me ask you back to Normandy. What is this experience? And I know you say it's going to take a couple weeks to, and I'm sure it will. But right now, reflecting back over the last few days, is there one thing that stands out as I'm going to first ask about the most surprising that you didn't expect, people wise,
the hills.
anywhere? Okay, the hills.
Yeah, the hills. From the beach view going up. I mean, because I was down low tide and looking up at the cliffs, and not the cliffs, but I mean just the bluffs and the hills, and then sit there and just kind of in your mind, you're looking around, and you could see the pictures in your mind's eye of the bodies floating, and the traps, the tank traps, and different things that they had there. And to think those guys made it through this. And the one section of guys who made it up the hill took out the MG 42 that was bogging everybody down. And that opened up the lane that let thousands get up into the bluff, on the left side of the Utah or Omaha. And, had that sergeant and that lieutenant not made it up through there and gotten that machine gun nest out of the way, nobody would have gotten off the beach, because it was just a death zone with the 88s. And there was the Navy ship that was out there shooting, that basically he came in so close he like grounded his ship, taking out these 88s that were in the crossfire on the beach. I could not imagine. I was trying to put myself in the place of being 18 or 19 years old again, and the front of the boat dropping, and just getting hit with bullets and mortars and everything that was dropping all around you. It's just that Saving Private Ryan scene really is so in terms of not being there but being there. I think that would be the closest thing to being there.
I mean, we know from combat that that's one of the most probably accurately depicting scenes of just what combat is like in general, regardless of what theater you're in. But I got to ask, are you going to go back and watch that? And if you do, I mean, I imagine you're going to watch that with a whole different perspective now, having walked the ground.
Yeah, having walked the ground, knowing that those guys that went up there, like Point to Hawk, Rangers lead the way, right?
Right.
When Colonel Rudder went up that mountain with those guys expecting to take out the guns, but they'd already been moved. What, holy crap. You ever looked at the face of that cliff and you're standing there and you're looking at it, you're like, that is just incredible what the feat that those guys were able to accomplish. And once again, young guys, strong-willed, willing to throw their life, jump on a hand grenade and sacrifice their life for their buddy.
They leaned on
And
their
then,
training. They knew the mission. They knew the objective, and that's all they needed. And they knew,
yeah,
the way home was getting through that and taking that objective.
oh yeah,
That's
and and I tell you, like Millie was there today, and I shouldn't say this.
how was did him and Bells catch up for old times?
You know what? No comment. I'm gonna have to
All
let
right.
Bells tell the story.
I'll
It was
get that
pretty
one
damn
later
funny.
from him. Yeah.
Yeah, it was pretty damn funny. I mean, as we're talking about the military as it is now, um, it's we're almost more worried about DEI than getting guys qualified on the rifle range, which is a sad state
Well,
of
how about this?
affairs.
We're more worried about DEI than ever trying to win another D-Day. That's for sure.
We'll never win another D-Day if we don't
No.
have, the hard charging, dedicated kids out there. And the soldiers that I saw and all the military I saw here are the ones that could do it. But when we use them, when they're used up, who's going to replace them?
Yeah,
It's
exactly. So I
it's
asked about
different.
the
I
most
mean,
surprising thing. Is there one emotional event that stood out that was more emotional than anything else?
um, you, I tell you, I freaking lost it. We were at Chateau, blah, 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 wherever Rommel's headquarters was, and there was a guy named God, what was his name? Matt something. Oh, geez. Or no, it was Scotty. Scotty Hastings is this up and coming country star, and he was out there for something, and he played acoustic guitar at our lunch, and it was a song about joining the military. and the pride that you feel and going off to war. But then it was a perspective of basically his ghost talking about coming home under the flag, the flag draped over
all in
you on
one
the.
song, all that in one song.
Yes. Yeah.
Hmm.
And all of a sudden I had a flashback to Iraq in '05. Like it was like the 26th. I'm having dinner with this EOD guy, Brett Angus, and he's a master sergeant. We're having dinner that night. Next day, he's blown up. And then a few days later, it was my birthday. It was November 30th. And we carried his body out through the VIP entrance there at TQ onto the back of the C-130 and put his coffin. And his was the only coffin. Strapped it down. They put the American flag over it. And the KC-130 took off. And it was one of those things that all of a sudden I hadn't thought about this, the way he was talking about it. That caused me to break. I mean, I broke down and started crying right there. I was like, glasses off. It's kind of dusty in here. My eyes are getting watery, and then I'm sniffing. The next thing I know, I'm freaking crying. It was really hard to get my composure back. It was a very powerful song. It's going to be coming out pretty soon. So, what I say, Scotty Hastings.
Yeah.
If you can find his song, listen to it. I guarantee you, if it's got a great melody and everything, but if you listen to the words and you have taken somebody and put them on the back of an angel flight, you're gonna lose it. You guarantee you,
Do
you're
you
gonna
remember
lose
the
it.
name of the? Do you remember the name of the song?
No, I don't.
Because I'm looking.
I
It
can
looks
get
like
it.
he has one called "I'm America," which is pretty popular. That seems like that's his probably biggest hit right now. But he has a couple others like "How Do You Choose," seems to be another one.
No, that doesn't sound right. It's basically under the flag.
Okay. He has
It's
one
like
called
called
"Red,
under
White, and
the flag.
Blue." So
Maybe that's it. That might be
yeah,
it.
yeah. He's got a debut EP. Okay, so this is he's just now up and coming. That's
Yeah, he's up and coming guy, and it might be that song, Red, White, and Blue.
okay. All right.
So if you get a chance, check it out. And for those out there listening, go check out Scotty's work. It was powerful. I cried.
Well, apparently he's a
So
former infantryman with 4th Squadron, 4th Cavalry out of the 1st Infantry Division. He's a big Red One guy.
yeah. Oh yeah.
So he's a vet.
Oh yeah.
He's
Oh yeah. He's a vet. He's no shit. He got shot. What did he say? I mean, it's something like ridiculous. I got shot 7 times. I took
wow.
so many
Okay.
rounds
Yeah.
up here, and then a round in
That'd
the
be
hip.
another guest we need to get on. We'll definitely
Yeah,
pimp his show up, pimp his South. Yeah.
yeah, you need to get
The
him on your show for sure.
So now that you're coming back and like I say, you come back, got to get back to work and all that kind of stuff. Are you planning to take this experience? I mean, you've taken a lot of photos. Like I say, I've been sharing a lot of them. I'm sure you've taken a ton more than you've even had a chance to put up. Are you planning to take something from this experience and do something, either, write about it, talk to groups about it? Anything like that? Have you thought about that yet? I'm not sure you even had the chance to sit down and think about that, to be honest.
No, I haven't. I mean, it's just it was kind of one of those, hey, would you join this trip, win the lotto to get to go? And no, there's a lot. I mean, I just wish I had more time to sit down with each guy and talk to them, each vet,
Yeah.
to get their stories. I mean, talking to one guy, he was a PT boat, 50 cal gunner. Talked to another guy who got captured, escaped, made it away from the Germans. I mean, there's just lots of stories,
Right.
and there's just so many. It's hard, and then you run around and they're just there. You stop and talk to them, and you
It's
just
I
don't
imagine
have the.
it's got to be a whirlwind for them too. I bet they are just their minds got to be swimming of just nonstop people thanking them, coming up, talking to them. I mean, they're older dudes, brains aren't moving as fast, and I imagine this is not only fulfilling for them, I got to imagine, but also something that whatever days they have left on this rock, that they are never going to forget themselves, and will probably think a lot about.
They'll never forget it for sure. And
Yeah.
to, from the bottom of my heart, to all the people in France who treated them like absolute gods, um, so late in their lives, my utmost thanks to all the people in Normandy and France and Belgium. Oh, that's the other thing, dude. You want to see? Um, you come out here. There are about probably a million reenactors. I kid you not, maybe 500,000. And they come out here and they're in Jeeps that are immaculate. They're in Jeeps, they're in trucks, they're in command
You
vehicles.
know
And
about
I,
rebuilding old military vehicles. That's something you know a lot about.
yeah. I mean, it amazes me because I had a 45 Willys, and these guys have got period Jeeps with radios and weapons and the whole 9 yards. And and it blows you away because I'm in the parking lot and I'm talking to this, I see this beautiful Jeep, and so I go out there, I'm looking at it, drinking my coffee, and this guy comes up and he's in his paratrooper outfit, and I'm like, "Hey, so where are you from?" And he goes, "Oh, I'm from Germany." I'm like, "Really? Yeah, Mitch, nice to meet you." And he goes, "Yeah, Wolfgang." And I'm like, "Nice to meet you, Wolfgang. So were you military?" And he goes, "No, no, never military, but always." Um, admired this period and stuff. And I'm like, "Well, aren't you rooting for the wrong side? Aren't you supposed to be the German side?" He goes, "Yeah, it's much easier to be Americans." And I'm like, "Oh, that's
Yeah.
cool."
I don't think
Yeah,
there. I mean,
but they,
you probably know Germans. There's not a lot of national pride or pride in the military there because of that. I mean, it's not something that they kind of do. They don't really wave their flag a lot or anything. Still to this day. I
no,
mean,
they don't. And we were at one of the museums, the Overlord Museum, I think, and the kids did a concert there, and we had about 15 or 20 German soldiers that were there. And you would think that's kind of awkward, kind of like Japanese at Pearl Harbor or Americans at Hiroshima. But it's um, it's actually refreshing to know that those guys, they come there to learn, and we do overcome the past and have formed incredible alliances with our past enemies. So it's kind of cool.
wow. They that is something. Yeah. So one last thing before we wrap up, because I know it's very late there. When you to get this opportunity, are you going to try to go back and visit again where you can take time and take it all in on your schedule?
Yes.
You thought about that? Okay.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I've already talked to my wife about it. When she gets her passport renewed, we're going to come down here to the south of France and, or not south of France, sorry, Normandy area. Um, some of the some of the different areas, and rent a house or do something that we can just relax, and then take a little day drive and stuff, and go visit this and go visit that. A lot more opportunity to soak it in, not a set schedule where I have to make sure I get 120 people off the buses and into this one area. And, we got to get them all gathered up again. We got to get water, bathroom breaks. We got to do this. We got to do that, where it's just our time schedule. So, yeah, definitely
Awesome.
going to do that. And the area here is beautiful. If you've never been here, the like I said, you'll never see more American flags flown than down or along the coast. And the people bend over backwards. They're so friendly. It's 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 spectacular. I could see buying a house down here and living because the weather's awesome. It's 95 back in Dallas in Fort Worth, and I think we get up in the morning, it's in the 60s. It got to like low 70s today. It's just beautiful weather. It's
Yeah,
June.
sounds like it. Yeah, and if you're near the beach, you got a nice ocean breeze coming off and all that.
Oh
So
yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, I tell you that did get really cold today. You're either in the sun, you're in the sun roasting, or you're in the shade freezing. It it was one or the other. And so
nothing
I had a
between.
chair in the shade. There was nothing in between. I had a chair in the shade, and then I would get up, stand over in the sun to try to warm up a little bit, and then I go back and sit back down. But yeah, I do like the weather. It's nice, nice weather.
There you go. Maybe it's
Well,
a place
listen,
to
brother,
retire to.
I'm sorry.
Yeah,
I got to go hit the rack and get up early, and we're heading back to Paris tomorrow to fly home. So you have a great one,
absolutely.
and I will definitely catch up with you soon. All right.
I sure will. When you get back in the States, Taco, you fly safe and tell everyone we said hi, and we'll see you back on the return.
You bet. I sure will. Take
Have a
care.
good
Hoorah.
All right, there we go. Why are there lines on you?
That's a good question.
You're playing with that application. Anyways, that was it. What'd you think, Rob?
Well, we'd started talking before, um, uh, just about that generation, and you will never find a a more gracious, a more um, uh, thankful group than the people from that generation. I mean, not to say that anybody from Korea or Vietnam, and Vietnam especially, because Vietnam kind of got a raw end of the deal. But every individual you see from World War II is thankful for. I mean, every day they're just thankful, and the praise we put upon them, and just thanking them for what they've done, and they're just they they look at it. They're very humble. They're very you know um, was just doing a job, and had no qualms about it. And yeah, I mean, it's just that it's going to be a sad day when that generation is no longer around. So
Yeah, uh, absolutely. And it there was so much more he wanted to. I mean, it was well after midnight there when he did that. And he literally called me because I talked to him today, and he's like, "Hey, you want to do this?" I'm like, "What, right now?" He's like, "Yeah." I'm like, "Give me 10 minutes." I'm like, "Let me go set up." And I was like, "Yeah." I said, Let's do this. I just want to get that fresh perspective. It's interesting. He talked about he's going to need a couple weeks to process this. I
yeah,
mean, and that because he was working a lot, he was a guy that was helping make everything happen. Like he said, he really couldn't enjoy it per se, but he got to be there for it. And we'll go back later, but just even being there, even if you're working the whole time, to be there to see the graciousness of the French people. We in the military and in the U.S. we rip a lot on the French, right? They're kind of the butt of the jokes on a lot of things, but you know to hear him, and I've seen the pictures, right, and the videos and stuff, but to hear him talk about the number of flags there, and to see many of his pictures with French kids all dressed up in like
wow,
U.S. military garb and uniforms and that stuff, and coming out and see it. I mean, I shared more stuff while the interview was playing that he put up today. And just to see these people stop their whole lives. Usually you see, a generation or two from war, like in Korea when I was there. The young people had no idea. The older people loved us and they respected us and
wow,
were very appreciative of Americans being there. The young ones wanted us out of there, right? But to have 80 years difference, and these young people, like he talked about, they're still taught what was done, what happened on those
right,
grounds.
yeah,
That's pretty awesome.
yep, yeah. It's yeah. Like I said, it's just going to be a sad day, and um, they're what do you say? 106 was one of the individuals.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, that's insane. I
I
mean,
I saw a post today that one of the um gentlemen, I think he's 102, 103, died on the flight over there. Um, he died before he could get there, which is pretty heartbreaking. And
yeah.
then I also found out, thanks to my lovely wife, that there was actually a 101-year-old woman veteran female veteran that was there on the trip.
Oh wow.
And her name was Marie Roseburg West. And she was 101 years old, and she was there. Obviously, females in the military, were very rare. Just especially around combat, they weren't there back
Right.
then, right? There were nurses and other folks, but and they were pretty much limited to that. But you know, they were there and they were serving and they were doing their part, and that's pretty awesome. That I wish that kind of would have got more attention too. That 101-year-old female veteran was able to make it too, because like I said, there won't be enough. There won't be any left for 85 years.
Right. Right.
Um, it's like the last. I think it was a month or two ago. The last veteran surviving member of the USS Arizona it passed away. He was the last one.
Yeah.
Lauren F. Bruner, our good friend who we had on the show a couple of times. I mean, he wrote the book and everything. Second to last to leave the USS Arizona. I mean, he was the last one interned on the Arizona because he knew the other few remaining ones did not want to be buried there. They wanted to be buried in their cemetery and so on and so forth. So he was the very last one taken down to the Arizona, but the very last surviving member of the Arizona has left this planet and left this world. So, these guys will be, and what's one nice thing I've had about doing this show for so long. I mean, I think back, I wish I could remember them all. I really wish I'd have kept the journal, but we have had so many phenomenal people, survivors of the Bataan Death March. So one of the officers, one of the commanders of the Marine unit that raised the flag in Iwo Jima. I mean, we've had so many. Dale Dye, who is renowned actor and has been in every war movie and that kind of stuff. But some of these guys that we have had that have been in infamous battles and battles you never heard of, we've had on all the different shows that I've hosted and stuff. And I mean, when they passed, we found out they passed, like Lauren Bruner did.
Yeah.
Like, I wish I would have done more shows with them. I mean, I wish I would have done,
Well,
that kind
it's just by chance that that my wife was even around. Her grandpa was in World War II, and he had been married before, and his wife was pregnant, but before he left, and he took a flight. He was a gunner on an aircraft, and took a flight so somebody else could not take the flight. Right, so he took their slot. Well, he was shot down, and he became a POW. And he found out through letters that snuck in, because they would filter the mail, and if there was anything positive or whatever, they would filter it out. Well, the name of his daughter, my wife's mom, got snuck through on one of the letters, and that's how he knew he had a daughter. She because his daughter was born while he was still a POW.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. I mean,
And
because
then he went on to have like 8 other kids.
yeah. I mean, that's and you see a lot of that from the different stories, and they definitely, they have spread their generations out from ones and it makes you wonder, how many that didn't make it, whether it was on, Normandy or whether it was in the rice paddies of Vietnam, whatever, how many generations of people will never know that never had the opportunity to be born or do whatever because, their ancestors, fathers, grandfathers, great grandfathers were snuffed out, but
Yeah.
and taken from us. But yeah, it's my mom is in chat. She reminded me, obviously, my uncle Troy. I'm named after him, right? He was a medic, combat medic in the 101st. Was a glider troop.
Uh,
So he was on the gliders and he was a POW in World War II. He got captured, and it's one thing to say, hey, you're going to jump out of a plane, but there's this parachute that's going to lower you to the ground. It's something else to say we're going to pull you behind a plane and a kite with 30 other dudes and probably some equipment, and we're just going to cut you free, and you're just going to kind of have a controlled crash. It's one thing Nick over at the Fat Electrician is talked about, saying, take a lot of bravery and balls to jump out of a plane, but to something else, at least you kind of controlled, but you're just pretty much in a engineless plane kite glider that's just gonna just land wherever it lands, and not sure how hard you're going to hit. And they were pretty much made of paper, and they weren't made of like anything could cut right through them because they
Right.
were made obviously as light as possible. That was a whole different level of bravery to be a glider troop,
Yeah.
and do that kind of thing. But yeah, it was. If you're listening or watching right now, I see the numbers. I put the link in the chat. We've got a few minutes, not many, but we got a few minutes. If you want to connect in, call in if you would, and tell your story, ask a question or whatever. By all means, we're trying to start something new here and do that. But yeah, it's Taco started to get into it a little bit about how the kids today are raised or taught or not taught versus how these kids are raised over there, or at least kept up
Right.
on history. Here everyone gets butthurt and gets, and like I'd mentioned, we're teaching about Che Guevara, and we're teaching about, the wrong kind of idols and who's cool and not cool. And over there, you just watch any of the pictures or videos that I've shared, and we're going to put them up on the Stu and the Nun page. You see these little kids from France that are all dressed up in U.S. military, uniforms, and they're out shaking hands. Or they really are treating every one of these guys like rock stars, and they should. They
Right.
should,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Um,
Well, you were talking about the gliders. I mean, just think about it. I mean, you were airborne. The parachuting had not been around that long when these
mm-mm.
guys were jumping out of planes. I mean, just think of, you talk about the guys that didn't come home. Think of the chutes that didn't open, right? I mean,
Yeah,
just something as simple as that. Shot on the way down. I mean, that was still, brand new, fairly new to the military, jumping out of planes for that.
it really was. It had not been around. That was they were
Yeah,
kind of like the test ones, right? They
yeah,
were kind of it, yeah.
yeah.
Um, there's a great story about the 77th or the 11th Airborne Division that actually jumped into they jumped into Pacific operations, but the 11th Airborne Division, which is now reactivated in Alaska, they are now the Arctic Angels. But there's a great story about how they came about. They were all trained in both airborne operations and glider operations. Their commander did both, and they almost the General Eisenhower wanted to get rid of the airborne forces. He didn't feel that they were that they didn't have great success on North, because remember they got dropped all over the place. I mean, the
All right.
operation, from an airborne perspective, was not really a great success. But so General Eisenhower was not for the airborne, and he wanted to get rid of them. And the 11th Airborne Division was able to prove him wrong, but the guy picked the best of the best in athletes and everything else, trained him hard, taught him in all the operations, and conducted what is considered one of the most successful airborne tactical operations ever in this country. And if you've never heard about it, but they were a division that had not been formed, there would have been no airborne forces,
All right.
because really Normandy and the jumps there and stuff were not considered a great success. The units did not land where they were supposed to. They weren't cohesive. They were off target.
Yeah.
But I don't think they gave to look at, well, what were we doing? These C-47s were flying over by the dozens, if not hundreds, and just getting shot out of the sky. Imagine that. You're on the ones that just got shot down. I mean,
Yeah. Yeah.
that kind of thing. But you heard me ask Taco about watching Save It Private Ryan. I mean, I've been to things and seen things in my travels, and then went back and watched a movie and just seen it from, like, I know that place, I know that that kind of
Right.
stuff. I mean, that movie's already awe-inspiring and very emotional because it is so close to realistic. I can't imagine going to watch it now, even from the opening and closing scene where the the old man, if you would, is going to see the graves. To
Right.
know I walk those same, I mean, I just, and see Point du Hoc and all that kind of stuff has to just be
Well,
pretty moving.
the one of the other things about, I keep going back to that generation and just how selfless and everything they were. Think about when I went in the military and when you went in the military, right? You went in because that was what you were going to do, right? I mean, these guys left jobs as teachers and lawyers and bus
Yeah,
drivers and left behind, you know, things that they had already had established and families and just ran off to war and eh, without even questioning it. It's just thank you just doesn't seem like enough.
Yeah.
For what they did. So,
I
and
mean,
it'll never be enough.
yeah, I mean, because I mean, you look at others, whether things like Vietnam, where a lot were drafted, they still went on and served great, but some were they were dragged there against their will,
Yeah.
right, and that kind of stuff. Many volunteered, but that kind of got lost in the whole draft and stuff. But when you look at World War II or World War I, or some of those, I think Korea was mostly staffed. It wasn't a draft, right? I don't think there was a draft for Korea. I think
No.
it was
No.
all volunteer and pretty much already an established military.
Yeah.
But, yeah, actors, singers, like you said, people with professional careers literally dropped everything
Yeah.
and said, I've got to do my part. And just a different mindset than what we have today, right?
Well, and even here, that the men who didn't go and the women who didn't go. I mean, the the, the the drives to collect metal, the drives to collect,
Right.
the war bond sales,
Yeah,
everything.
everyone
I
back
mean,
kept supporting too. Yes.
yeah. I mean, it was a different time. I mean, now what happens is, when something kicks off, you've got a protest in the streets because they don't want to go. Arguing against the war. I mean, it was just a different time and a different people.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah, for
that
sure.
unfortunately, I don't think that we'll ever capture again here.
Yeah.
We talk on the show a lot about 9/12, right, and the way the country was 9/12. I still don't think, even as young as we are, and not having lived there, but look at the history of it. I don't think even 9/12 comes to the level of sacrifice that these guys did for World War II and D-Day especially. So
Oh, I agree. It's a wholly different level. Yeah. It's
yeah,
and the patriotism too. Like I said, the whole country stood up and
yeah,
didn't worry about partisan or politics. But hey, we got to wrap it up. Great show, Rob. Thank you for joining me. Thanks to Taco. We're gonna probably have him on or do some crazy stuff with him and his show and ours. Tall Tales from Tacos, his show. He has a lot of phenomenal guests on. But thanks to him for joining and really thanks to all those vets, all the families of all those World War II vets, whether what theater they were in. Our heart goes out to you and our prayers go out to you for your loved ones' sacrifice, which is allowing us here, because I think everyone is without a doubt. There's no argument that had that Germany not gone unchecked and Japan, that this would not be the country we have now. We would all be a lot different. But with that, Rob, thank you so much. Everyone else, thanks for tuning in. Be sure to tune in next week. Follow us on all of our socials here on Stu and the Nun, and we'll see y'all later. Rob, have a good night, brother.